Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom over me, over me. And before I be a slave, I'll be buried in my grave and go home to my Lord and be free.
Dana Roberts strode purposely to Deputy Price's car and yanked open the left rear door. He grabbed a fistful of Schwerner's cambray shirt, pulling Mickey to his feet, and spun him around so the two men faced each other at the edge of a ditch where rainwater had carved a gully in the cut. "Are you that nigger lover?" he demanded. Mickey must have seen the gun in Roberts' other hand and realized he was about to die, but he did not yield his nonviolent faith. "Sir," he told Roberts, "I know just how you feel." Roberts held the gun to Schwerner's heart and fired once at point-blank range, his left hand still resting on Schwerner's shoulder. Mickey fell to his left uphill and lay in the gully in a position parallel to the road.
Roberts then went back and pulled Goodman to his feet at the left side of Price's car. He shoved him to the approximate spot where he had just shot Schwerner, held the gun to within a few inches of Goodman's right chest, a little above the armpit, and squeezed the trigger. Andy, who had been facing the road, doubled over and fell back toward the clay bank, where he lay crumpled in the ditch.
Jordan stood in the center of the road, several feet away from his victim, and took aim. Huey says Chaney recognized one of the Meridian Klansmen on the road and implored him to intervene and spare his life. If so, it did not stop Jordan from pulling the trigger. His shot struck Chaney in the abdomen, and he fell to the ground. At the same moment, Roberts fired, hitting Chaney in the lower back. Roberts then rushed to where Chaney lay in the gully and fired a coup de grace into his brain. Jordan stood in the road with his gun at his side. "Well," he drawled solemnly, "you didn't leave me nothing but a nigger, but at least I killed me a nigger." Suspicious of all white Mississippi officials, including coroners, COFO arranged through the Medical Committee for Human Rights for an expert New York pathologist, Dr. David Spain, to provide a second opinion as to the cause of death of Goodman, Schwerner, and Chaney. Mississippi officials insisted that before Spain performed his examination, that the Schwerner and Chaney families would have to take possession of the bodies and then provide written permission for a second autopsy. Andrew Goodman's family had already arranged for his body to be flown to New York, so Schwerner and Chaney were the only two bodies that needed the second opinion. Spain conducted his examination on James Chaney's body on August 7th at the University of Mississippi Medical Center. In his opinion, the earlier autopsy report had grossly understated Chaney's injuries. In lay terminology, he said, in his written report to COFO, the jaw was shattered. The left arm and the left shoulder and upper arm were reduced to a pulp. The right forearm was broken completely across at several points, and the skull bones were broken and pushed in toward the brain. Under the circumstances, Spain wrote, these injuries could only be the result of an extremely severe beating with either a blunt instrument or chain. The other fractures of the skull and ribs were the result of bullet wounds. It is impossible to determine whether the deceased died from the beating before the bullet wounds were inflicted. In my extensive experience of 25 years as a pathologist and as a medical examiner, I have never witnessed bones so severely shattered, except in tremendously high-speed accidents such as airplane crashes.
We can no longer close our eyes to reality and pretend that all is well, that the gap between the haves and the have-nots can continue to grow wider, that we can continue to destroy the environment, the very basis for healthy life on this planet, to satisfy the greed of a handful of people. Educational, economic, environmental tasks emerge beside the social and political ones around which there has been so much visible progress, and yet there still remain judicial problems like festering sores that show that all people are not respected as equals and justice is not for all. We want a full measure of justice as we assert our full humanity and demand to be fully included in correcting the past wrongs to build a better tomorrow in the future. our actions and our words join us together with the tens of thousands of people that will be gathering in Atlanta, Georgia next week at the U.S. Social Forum, who say that a better world is possible. And I wanted to end by saying that to say that there is much that was accomplished does not imply that there is not much that remains to be done. To say that there are many unfulfilled tasks does not detract in the least from the heroic struggle of the people's struggle and their accomplishment. Mississippi embodies that incredible contrast of the ordinary capacity, of the extraordinary capacity of ordinary people to accept the challenges of their struggle against great odds, and the enormous legacy of greed, selfishness, and evil upon which this country was built through genocide, slavery, and deception. We are left now with the enduring legacy of those unresolved, unrepented, and unrepaired evil, that legacy that remains with us today.